because I've had the background in unit, a lot of the pro guys are now approaching us, and they can see it's so rewarding to actually see riders from their point of view notice the ascension of your creation. So, Thrilla's now starting to get noticed. We're getting our wholesale program really expanding. And so more and more now top riders are approaching myself to ride for Thrilla.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of the Motivated Mindset Podcast. And I hope that wherever you are watching or listening, that this episode finds you doing absolutely amazing. Next guest is a special one. He is returning from way back in the day. Episode number 13 happened about 2 years ago. And if you get an opportunity, check it out. His story, super compelling. And since then, he's been up to a lot of other stuff, which we're going to find out about today. He is an entrepreneur. He's a visionary. He's an innovator. He's an idea man. And by idea, I don't mean like, putting jelly and peanut butter in the same jar. He is the founder of brands such as Unit and Parader. And his latest endeavor is taking the market by storm. It's called Thrila, as you can see by his garb and his hat and his shirt. We're going to find out all about that venture and everything else about my next guest from the land down under, Mr. Paul Everest. Paul, how are you? Happy New Year, mate.
Happy New Year to you, and I'm feeling amazing. And life is good down here. And mate, it sounds like you're in the same mood. So yeah, let's do this.
Awesome. So glad to have you back. It's been a while. How was the New Year? I mean, did you have a good holiday with the family, the kids? Everybody safe and sound? You get everything for Christmas that they wanted, or?
Yeah, everyone's no complaints from my family, and we've actually had a great Christmas in Australia. I think last time I spoke to you, we had bushfires and it was flooding, or it was the whole world was falling down. But I can say from us Aussies that we are in good stead. We're all alive and well, mate. So a lot of beach days with my kids and a bit of boating here and there. So that's sort of how we do Christmas here on the Gold Coast.
Outstanding. Well, you're a resilient bunch, you Aussies. Very resilient, right? So the fires can't keep you away from the success of living a full life. That's awesome. A lot of people this time of year, Paul, are into the New Year's resolution, right? They want to lose some weight. They want to improve their physique. They want to start a new business venture or something along those lines. Anything in your pipeline that you've got in store, or you don't buy into the whole resolution thing? You just go flat out 24/7.
Look, I think, the whole resolution thing, it's like the idea of being on a diet or something. Like, it's just this temporary thing that you're going to embark upon that will never sort of, hold the test of time. So, I think if you're going to do something, you impose a new, thing into your life that stays. It's a new habit. And I love the quote, people don't decide their futures, their daily habits that they decide upon will decide their futures. So what you're prepared to do today and carry forward with will be who you are in the future. And it's this idea of starting again on this date and then inevitably falling off the cart. It will just never result in the future that you're wanting. So just start something and kick it on and do not stop. That just becomes your habit.
I totally agree. I think it's a good time for folks to reset, but I'll give you an example. I had a lot of weight to lose. I was getting round, and I'm only 5'8". Okay, so that wasn't a good look for me. So we were fixing to go on a cruise, our very first cruise for my 60th birthday party. Virgin Voyages, Richard Branson, the Scarlet Lady, adults only, no kids embarking, and I had 20 pounds to lose. Well, most people, during the course of a year, they'll pack on the weight and they'll want to do it. I realized after taking the weight off to enjoy a better physique on the cruise that it's got to be a lifestyle, man. You cannot just turn it off like a light switch and turn it back on again. At least I can't.
Yeah, look, and speaking to you, like on our last show, I know you're an amazing fitness, person, and you're in great shape. And I've only kind of come across, sticking to a fitness habit in the last 2 years since we spoke, really, and it's just improved my life in every aspect. It's like the base level of your being. If the basement floor is, you're fit, you're healthy, and you're disciplined. All those other layers, your relationship, your environment, even a clean environment, working in a clean environment is what I would argue is like the third layer. And then, your life has multiple dimensions, and the bottom one is health and fitness. If you nail that, you can really have the rest happen. And in my former business with, 100 staff and a huge revenue, I never really had that bottom layer fully dialed. And I notice now with my new business and my new life, having that, and I'm not saying I'm some fit, like I couldn't be in a fitness magazine or anything like that. But I just have discipline, and I am dedicated to being lean. I just had a bike crash, so I've actually been 6 weeks out of the gym, which is actually breaking my heart. But ordinarily, I highly value waking up in the morning. My alarm goes off at 4:30. I wake my own parrots up in the morning, and they are usually quite grumpy with me. Then I'll get on my bike, I'll ride to the gym, and I'll do an hour. I'll swim for half a kilometer as well. There's an Olympic pool there. And I'll come back, I'll ride back shirtless in the sun on my bike like this, just in a euphoric state. And I start the day at 8:20 before the world's really awake, and I'm already stacking W's before people have opened their email, and that's me every single day of the week.
So there's no need for a resolution. You actually walk it, talk it, live it. And I think it's key what you said about the levels, right? I think, what does it benefit a person if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? Well, I think it says in scripture, right? Well, I also think too, what if does it benefit an individual if he gains the whole world and has no health and to enjoy it, right? That baseline is fundamental. It's key, and it's paramount to a foundation that builds up so that you can enjoy your endeavors, whether it be monetarily, financially, spiritually, and however you decide to go. No?
Look, this is spot on, and I feel like if you think about our history as a species, we were out running around on the savannah throwing spears at large mammals to bring back to the family, and so we stopped doing that, right? And as men, we're hunters, and just the idea of being around a bunch of men outside, there's a spirit to that, and a kind of, and I have it. The only other time I've actually felt that when I grew up in Papua New Guinea, where you do that all the time, but like having like paintball games where you're just with a bunch of blokes and you're about to go and attack another team. There's something about that. So even like just that energy that you get from being around other blokes, and like being physically exerted each day, we're built to do that. And with these laptops and all this like technology now, and look at some of these guys that are like super successful in IT, and you just think, man, if you guys actually went to the gym, you've already made billions. Imagine what you could have done if you'd actually been fit. Like if you're making billions and you look like that, I just think, my God, thank God you haven't figured out the fitness bit. Otherwise, you'd own the world, as you were saying. So how anyone can do it, I wonder.
Yeah, I had interviewed a fella, Paul. He's a fitness coach to entrepreneurs and executives, busy executives. And one of the things he finds in common with them is they have that mindset of, execute and deliver, so on and so forth. They don't have it with their health. They get a hair up their ass. They want to get, quote unquote, the physique or healthy. And he says they try to bite off more than they can chew because they have this mindset that, they turn it on and off in business and make such a success out of it. And what happens is they attack the fitness profile so hard, so heavy that it's inevitable that they burn out. So he sets up for them programs that says, look, we're going to give you a minimum daily guarantee, meaning that if it's just a 15-minute walk once a day around the block, regardless of what's happening in your busy lifestyle, if you got a meeting or anything along those lines, cancel it, take care of this. If you can't do that, I don't want you to be my client. And he says what happens is that builds credibility within the individual. He says, and I'm blathering on a little bit, but what he says is, if you had a friend and you asked him out to dinner and he stood you up, you'd think that was odd, right? He says, if you asked the same friend and he blew you off a second time, well, chances are you're not going to give it the third time, and eventually you're just going to, go away from the relationship. Well, there's no credibility with that friend. There's no trust. Well, it's the same with us as individuals and a busy executive. If you can't stand up to a 15-minute walk around the block as a minimum daily guarantee, I don't want you as a client. And that mindset and that shift perspective if you are a busy executive, it would behoove you to listen to the advice of this individual because it's wise, and you could have essentially his cake and eat it too. He could have the wealth and all that stuff that goes along the accoutrements, and he could have the fundamental baseline that we just talked about in terms of health to go along with the wealth. So I thought that was interesting.
Look, it's an imperative. I mean, I've just been asked to coach a lot of like heavy duty business executives from around Australia at this massive health clinic, sort of like Escape, owned by a famous Aussie actor. Hugh Jackman owns it. They want me to go up there and train a lot of these
Yes.
high profile executives just through what I've been through. And that would be actually, and I've already covered this, is my non-negotiable is like a walk or an exercise session for half an hour of some sort, and then the other one is no alcohol. And if you can't do those two things, I will not help you. Like, and if you haven't got the discipline to just introduce that, we can't build the layers up. We can't build this pyramid of your future success without those two basement layers done. And so, yeah, if they can't drop alcohol and exercise half an hour a day, I can't do anything with you. It's like not knowing how to speak English.
So you've dropped alcohol, I assume.
Yeah. So I've only done this in the last 6 months, and so it's
congratulations.
This whole year for me. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I've now gone on a binge of self-optimization since we last spoke, and why not stack the deck for your future success? Like, why wouldn't you? You know, and I'm 43 now, so it's sort of like, you know, I feel like I should have figured this out, you know, years ago, but I still feel super young. But like, it's like critical information that you now have, and you think, wow, man, I just want to pass on to all my friends, all my younger friends. It's like these are just two things: daily exercise and no alcohol will make your dreams come at you much quicker. The speed at which you'll achieve your dreams will double or triple instantly. And I've seen it. Like, my own life's just gone so good since those two things have happened. Now, I'm not a complete zero alcohol person. I recently met someone new in my life, and so, you know, we've been dating and having some fun. And so, yeah, through the Christmas period, I've had like moments where I've have had alcohol, but I'm much more deliberate and disciplined with how much I have, and I want to enjoy being around that person in a sober way. Like, being drunk, you don't remember your time together, you don't enjoy it, you're probably more likely to have some falling out or disagreement, and so. But overall, yeah, I don't drink per se. But if I'm out, you know, occasionally there's an opportunity to have something. So if it's like a date, or it's like a success, you've had a celebration, have one drink, you know. But that's it. That's where I pull up stumps, as we say. That's a cricket expression which none of the Americans will know. But yeah, it's a way to just maximize your ability to succeed. Is dropping alcohol. It does nothing for us. You know, if we took alcohol out of our society, all these drunk drivers, accidents, and domestic violence and health issues, all of that goes away. And I'm one for freedom. Like, I think people should be adult enough to make their own decisions. But when I look at the government, like, you watch sports here on TV, and same in the States when I've been there, it's like, drink alcohol, drink alcohol, drink alcohol. You listen to the radio, listen to the TV. It's just telling us, keep drinking this stuff. And I mean, yeah, it's good at keeping the society dumb and stupid. And if you're in the elite and you own, you know, everything, you kind of, I suppose their motivation is to keep us all divided and drunk and stupid so that they can maintain their position. Not to get too conspiratorial on us, but it seems to come across that way. That they want us not at our best, and we're, as a society, going, no problem. We will take this advice and drink ourselves into stupor. And so, yeah, I've come a long way with realizing that alcohol is not a great product for consumption. It's dangerous and terrible for you.
Well, you know, I agree with you on many levels, and we will dive into that a little bit. And I hate words like dive into and level up and side hustle and grind and, you know, circle back and, you know. But anyway, we're going to dive a little deeper into that. You mentioned your journey right now on the self, what was it? You said expression, but
Optimization.
yeah, it is. self-optimization, and I'm all for that. I think, why not, right? We're in this flesh suit, and we have to, it's what we walk around with. It's what, we have to take care of it. I mean, it's all we got to live in. We live inside of our headspace and everything like that. But yeah, getting back to alcohol quickly, I think, it does dumb people down. It's a legal substance, and it's one of the most dangerous. It's insidious in its side effects. You mentioned many of them, the memory, the agitation, the falling outs, the just escalation, the exaggeration of emotions and stuff. And I think I'm working on that myself as well, much like you are. And as far as the self-optimization, that's part of my plan. What do you consider self-optimization? What is your goal there? What are you trying to achieve and accomplish at age 43 that you haven't yet? And where do you see yourself, at, and where you're going in regards to that? And we'll talk about a little bit more about the elites, if you will, later.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I think, just to be alive and breathing is such a gift. Like, life is an incredible gift. And just to I hate the word gratitude. I'm like you. There's certain words that annoy me, but like, I can't really think of another word to replace gratitude. But like, I've been lucky enough to have all my dreams come true in life, with my past, and that entire time, I never had gratitude for what I'd achieved. I'd never really sat down and thought to myself, wow, I am so lucky that this has occurred in my life. Literally everything I've written down that I've wanted to have and do and succeed with, I've done. All the time I was like, what else? I want more. Give me more. And, it was always like,
That's the human condition.
This is not, this is not enough. You got the best sports car on the Gold Coast. Well, I want a better one after a year. And
naturally,
that was what huge thing to me. Yeah, I think we all suffer from areas, some more than others, with how we look at ourselves. And so, I fell from grace in many ways. I had achieved everything. I was, a multimillionaire, and all of that was taken away from me. And for a couple of years, I felt really like I was like a victim, of what had happened to me. And now I realize I was actually, I was chosen to go through this. Like, in a weird way, I feel like I was designed to have this rise and fall and then rise again. And I'm not saying I've risen again, even though I am on my way. And I feel like, in a couple of years from now, I'll have gone past where my former high was. But I feel like my purpose is to show others that this is, you can go up and down, and that's not it. Like, the game's not over. That you still have the motivation, the energy, and the desire and the capability to go again. And if I can do it, you can do it. So, I had many days
right.
of, like, quite low moments. Like, I was sort of fence line suicidal for a little while when I lost everything. Like, I went from having, everything you could ever dream of to basically nothing, and losing, my family, divorce courts, everything, all the worst, the most hostile stuff that we go through as men. I had to endure, and I still came out, and now I feel more happy and more, I just feel a sense of, like, life is amazing, and I'm so just the gift of life is so much more profoundly in me than it was even when I was supposedly, at my highest moment. Like, I'm there now, and so I just think that, for me, optimizing myself is to help convey this to others, and I'm still learning. Like, I'm going to have another year from now, I'm going to have even more knowledge about self improvement and making the most of who you are and what you're doing, so that I can help others. And I like that expression, create the man you wish to be and give him to the world. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm not the best that I'm ever going to be, potentially, but I know I'm getting better at it as I go along.
Well, you've done it all. I mean, for those, again, we're talking with Paul Everest, the founder of Unit, Parader, and Thriller. He's an entrepreneur and innovator, and I would encourage you to go over to his website, Thrila.com. Check him out on Instagram. He's on the platforms. Kindly, consider giving him a follow. He's very insightful, as you can hear, and I just certainly love listening and talking to you. You said, I think part of that purpose too, Paul, is just that you can be the example. But getting back to how you were able to create the life that you wanted. In the previous episode, we talked about an author and an individual named Brian Tracy, and he outlined a plan by where if you write down your goals and you repeat them so often, so many times, and it's saturating our subconscious mind, that it'll actually come to pass. I guess what I'm trying to say is this, or ask is rather, now knowing what you had, so you were able to achieve your every desire and kind of want more, and the subsequent crash whereby you lost a lot and it took a big toll. How about on this journey? It sounds like as you go on this rebound and this up slide or uptick, that when you're writing it down or whether you're planning and mapping it out, you do it with the caveat and the condition that I be happy and healthy and whole, so that you can have your cake and eat it too. Is that something that you think you can incorporate into this self-optimization journey that you're on right now? I think that's something that you should look into, no?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Just understanding the architecture of the life that you can build, and it not just being about like a monetary goal. And one of the life hacks that I think I mentioned in our last conversation was, change all your passwords to your goal. And mine originally was 20 million. That was my financial goal, and it's the wrong goal to have. Like, having money does not bring happiness. And I mean, I now know lots of very wealthy people, and some of them are happy, some of them are far from it. So having goals that are around, your own happiness, your own, I guess, gratitude and just enjoyment of life is where you need to be. And it doesn't mean that you have 3 Ferraris and a Riviera sports cruiser. It's like, you can be happy as a person who works in, a grocery shop. Like and I know people like that who, like, they still have a holiday a year and they still go and have a great relationship with their kids, and they're happy, and that's all they need. So figuring out what that is for you is the key, and we're all different in that way. But in terms of like more detail on that, like, I've just got a better architecture now on how I set up my businesses. So I've actually got a couple of businesses now, and I love it. Like, the enjoyment of creating something that didn't exist that yesterday, that's now in existence, and people are enjoying it. That to me is why I get up in the morning, is creating and inventing things, and branding and so on. And ultimately now I'm trying to unemploy myself. So as I get more success and my business grows, instead of trying to do everything myself and insisting on it being at my level of quality, I have to understand that my 100% is not as good as 2 other people. Like, let's say I've got 2 staff that are at 70% capability. They're together, they're at 140. Right. Me on my own is at 100. So you can employ other people to do the roles that you're not great at, that will still do better than you. It might take, you might find people that are better than you in all the areas. Ultimately, you want like lots of people that have got such great skills that you've got in every department that are way more qualified than you are, and then you're really cruising. In the early years, you just need to give people a basic understanding of what their role is, and let them go. Right. And you can't be on everything, because you just get burned out. So yeah, a lot of what happened to me in my past is being burned out, losing the love of why I was doing it, and just not understanding, I guess, why I was going through it all. And it's just, if I could talk to my former self, it would be amazing. I'd love to go back in time and sit myself down. But yeah, it's and the technology we have now. Like exactly. But just like having YouTube now and people listening to this, like, I hope I can convey some of the stuff I went through. And it's really interesting going back to a lot of my podcasts I've done with yourself and others, and just seeing the comments. Like, one comment that made me laugh was like, I thought I was going to sit down and listen to some motocross talk, but this guy's like talking about interstellar space and the entrepreneurial. I never thought I'd get this much out of a podcast on a motocross channel, and I love that. Like, yeah. I hope to help people, in ways that they didn't expect, and that's what we're here for. And I love it. And podcasting's just been such a great way to help me get my knowledge, because I want to pass this on. I've learned it the hard way, and it feels so rewarding to be like, hey, have this knowledge, take it and do what with it you want. Yeah.
I love that. I love, you say you're a creative idea guy, and I opened up our introduction with that. That is certainly something that drives you. And I wanted to ask you about that. When you come up with, for instance, there was when you formed Unit, I think you were looking for a name for it, and you had you were stewing on it, and you tossed it, you did every concerted effort that you could imagine to come up with it, and then you let it alone, and it bubbled up one night in your sleep. It kind of woke you up, if I'm
Yep.
not mistaken, or you were in bed.
Yep.
Do you find that, was that on purpose, number one? And number two, how do you create from a blank sheet or canvas a new idea, and where do you think they come from, these
Yeah.
ideas?
Well, this is a fascinating thing that I think we as a species will never truly know. But I love the quote: "Art is not created, art is received," and or ideas are not created, ideas are received. So if your radar, your antennae is open to bringing in this idea or this knowledge, you'll receive it. So being in a state of awareness and openness to the universe, is and to me, I could sit down and think about this for hours, because like all the ideas I've had, like I
Yeah,
could not tell you where they came from. Like they just basically just appeared
yeah,
in my mind, and I can't take credit for them. All I can really do is say they came to me from somewhere. But I think the reason I was selected out of maybe a bunch of other people who had a similar goal was the universe knew when it handed it to me, I was gonna fucking well get stuck in and go hard. Like I have such high intent and action that I think that's the secret. So if you know in your heart that you are committed to achieving something, the universe chooses you. And if you have that, if you've made that deal with
like
yourself
the
that you are
idea.
going to action, yeah, and so you are then in a state of high frequency, and that idea is going to come to you and not the guy down the street.
Frequency, we talked about vibration in our previous episode too. I agree with you. I think that we are channels, and you have to be kind of open to it. And I think so many artists, musicians, they'll say, I don't know where that came from. Bob Dylan, when he was writing his music, he would just kind of, I don't want to say black out because I can't speak for him, right? But he would literally, a song would be written, and he was interviewed by Ed Bradley before Ed Bradley died a few years back, and he was saying, I don't know where, I can't remember, I can't recreate that. In other words, I think his antenna was no longer up. He maybe lost his intensity. He's an older individual now, Bob Dylan. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that you have to be open to it. So many people have or receive ideas, and yet they don't act upon them because, like you said, I think you have to be high intensity, high action, marry it with the receptivity of what's coming into your channel via the idea, and that's what propels it forward. And there's not everybody's willing. Everybody has an itch, but not everybody can scratch it. You know.
Yeah, look, and just figuring out how to be in a state of high frequency is key. Like I'll even catch myself now. Like I'm quite a debater because I love the interaction, and like I'll see a comment on YouTube, and my initial reaction is, oh, I'm going to send a really negative comment to this person who's just wrong. And now I'm like, you know what? Like me putting a negative comment on a YouTube or on a social thread is a low frequency act. So I just don't do it. I just walk away. And
Yes.
in the past, I would have spent
Yes.
I would have dove in and like grabbed links and like proved someone wrong and just, knuckle down, like snock them down, drag them out conversation. And you'd spend half the day
But
just
no, exactly. Yeah.
fuming. Yeah, you'd
For
lose all
what?
this time and energy over some kid who's probably freaking 12, or just an unintelligent person in somewhere in Europe or whatever. And you just think, what has that achieved? And I've just now lost all this time and energy on this conversation. So I used to do that, years ago, and so now I'm like, yeah, I just walk away from anything that doesn't raise my frequency. It could be, yeah, and like the other thing is like action. So like just getting in the gym or riding your bike, that is an instant way to raise your frequency. Just physical exertion. You cannot lower your frequency through physical exertion. It can only go up. So if I find myself feeling a bit low, I go for a walk. I go for a ride on my bike. Funnily enough, most of my ideas come to me on my bike. So I'm lucky here on the Broadwater on the Gold Coast. We have huge bike paths. that I'm on like 3 times a day. I'll do a 2 hour work session where I'll crush it. Then I'll do an hour ride. Then I'll do another 2 hour ride. Sorry, no, 2 hour work session, and then a quick ride. So I operate in like bursts of energy with work and physical exertion, and then in the gym in the morning. So that's how I maintain a higher frequency. And the idea is just like it's like a funnel. You're just funneling from the ether, like ideas, whether they're like, sometimes just small ones, like I'm going to send that email to that guy, or like that t-shirt idea is going to be incredible. And yeah, just getting into a high frequency state and not letting yourself be seduced into some type of, altercation, in traffic or wherever else. Like those things are going to lower you. And if you're conscious of it, you'll catch yourself and reduce it.
That's a mouthful, man. I mean, traffic. I go down that rabbit hole. You're wise to catch it at age 43. I wish I still fall victim to that and allow myself to, and subsequently allow my frequency to drop, and that'll sap my energy emotionally and spiritually for hours if I let it. But I think the key, like you said towards the end there, was being conscious of it. Right? We have to be the gatekeeper and be objective and bring thoughts. We have to keep them we have, bring them under our subjection. Look at them, analyze them. Is it worth it? Is this worth a 12-year-old on YouTube for me to knock down, drag out, and send them links and stuff? And I think we know the answer is absolutely not. And, frequency is everything. And what is it? The higher the vibration, the lighter it is, and the denser it is, the slower the vibration and frequency is, the denser it is, like the desk or a rock or something like that. So, really, really cool stuff, man. I just totally appreciate your viewpoint. So what are you listening to right now? What do you not listening to as far as music or anything? What are you listening to feed your self realization and all that? What are you reading? What are you submersing yourself? Oh, and before you answer that, hold that thought. I have to agree with you. It's in our downtime, right? So we go in these bursts of energies, right? We really pour it on and everything like that. And then we calm down. We go to the gym. We're riding our bike. And then these ideas bubble up. We're shaving. We're brushing our teeth. And we're in the shower or something. It's like, oh, shit, I got to activate on that right away. And I think you just confirmed that for me, because you have done it and proved it monetarily and during the course of your career. And that's how you operate. So thank you for that. So now, anyway, back to my question.
Yeah, so in terms of who I'm listening to, I can't remember how you say his first name. I think it's Eckhart Tolle. I don't know if you're familiar with his...
Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, Tolle. Yeah, I'm never quite sure how to say his name. So now I don't read. I struggle with reading, and I think there's a lot of people in the same boat. And I just my left and right brain go on different tangents when I read text, but when I audio book stuff, I am much better. So that's my... And I encourage anyone out there that is in the same boat. If you find reading a chore, just audio book it, and you can increase the speed at which you listen, so you can be at double or triple speed. So you're actually absorbing data at 3 times the rate than you would. So that's one way. That's another hack for everyone. But yeah, with Tolle, or however you say his name, I really like his approach when it comes to frequency and understanding that thoughts that come to you are just, they're not you. These are thoughts that enter your mind, are subjective, and you can choose to grasp onto them or discard them. And it is amazing to just let your brain sit there with no clutch and just see what it comes up with. And there's a whole debate around free will, whether it's real, whether it's not. And I think that's linked to whether we're in a simulation or if we are. It's an interesting question, but his ability to have helped me decide which battles to fight. And I actually just drew upon him yesterday. Like, I was behind a car. You guys don't have roundabouts in America for some reason. You need to adopt roundabouts. Just a word of advice. We do have roundabouts. There's a few. There is a few roundabouts in America, but not as many. You guys are much more traffic light centric than us. But anyway, I was behind a car in a roundabout literally yesterday, and it's one of those people that they have to get their binoculars out and just make sure that there's no one for kilometers that's potentially coming, so they can stay, stopped on the roundabout. Whereas I'm like, hey, if there's no one coming, just go. If there's a yellow light, go.
Knock out.
You know, like if there's any fucking chance that we can keep this show moving, we're fucking going. Right? It's yellow.
Right.
There's a car, but it's like 100 meters away. So go. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, have you heard that term NPC, non-player character? You know, so like if this is a simulation, then there are other people that look like humans, but they're just non-player characters in the game. And now when I come across a moment like that where I'm just like, we're stationary and there was no need to be, I'm just like, this is an NPC, just calm down. They're incredibly important for the game to feel real. So just carry forward, Paul. Settle down. And so that's just one way I cope with it. Yeah, just keep going. So he's Hollay's got tons of great. Like I've listened to a whole heap of his stuff, and he's been someone that I've wished I'd known about a lot longer before. And in terms of other people, like I still listen to Brian Tracy a lot. Like there's my audio files on my phone are just like I have such a library now, and every now and then it's like I know I need to kind of tune up on this person's knowledge and that person's knowledge. But of late he's been my go-to.
I gotcha. Yeah, have you ever heard of an author named Stephen Pressfield? The Art of War. I'm sorry, The War of Art.
The War of Art. No,
I would highly recommend you. The War of Art, and I really, and this is one of the things that I think serendipitously brought us back together in terms of our, having a conversation after 2 years. If you have an opportunity, look him up. He's on YouTube, and you can catch many great, brilliant podcasts with him and his philosophy. He believes in a force called resistance with a capital R, and this force is tied with our egos, and it really keeps us. He's a writer, and he spent 30 years eluding his passion because of resistance. And I wanted to ask you about resistance. Do you allow for distractions to get in your road? In other words, when you hit the job, hit your project, are you hitting the ground running, or do you have a lot of little foxes that spoil the vine in terms of distraction? Do you face that resistance, or are you pretty much down and dirty and you get right after it?
Look, I think resistance is a important and critical element that is required to succeed and to help you evolve your ideas. For instance, my ex-girlfriend and I had an invention that we have a thing called Australia Day here, where everyone goes on the water and we have fun cranking music, and like it's like Lake Havasu type moment for Australia.
Oh yeah.
And we were thinking like we were like, we want to have something that we can float around on the water with shade on it, where we can have cold drinks. So we basically invented this queen size mattress with a reclining kind of shape to it. So you're sitting in a really biomechanically perfect shape with an esky, or you guys would say an ice box, and drink coolers, and
cool.
and a place to put a sound system. And in the course of inventing this, there was just so many roadblocks. Like, okay, trying to find a supplier on Alibaba, and then we kind of measure it up, and then this would be the next roadblock. So there's just resistance coming from all sides. But over the course of doing that, those roadblocks led to innovation. I got a new feature that I added to this. I can't actually say it online yet, but we came across an idea that had never been invented through a problem that was going to see the idea nullified. And I remember just ringing her and saying, "Okay, I've got the idea. Like, if we do this with it, we got to do these other additional changes, but it's going to then allow this whole other realm for this product to live in, which means we're going to sell probably 10 times more of them." And it was literally, we're going to have to drop the whole product because there's just this issue, and so that resistance led to huge success. And you go to the gym, the whole idea of the gym is resistance, right? Like your body's designed to go through resistance training to become a more efficient machine, or a more efficient weapon. But I mean, there's also trappings, I could sit here and design all day and do work, or I could go for a swim in the ocean. I mean, we're so blessed here. Like, the water is turquoise on a high tide. It's so clear. And often during the day, I'm like, oh man, I could be sitting here writing emails, or I could be in that water with headphones. I actually have waterproof headphones, to lay in the water here,
Yeah.
soak in the sunlight and enjoy that is such a deterrent from being on a computer sending emails. But I just
Right.
make sure that I reward myself later in the day with that. So depending on what that resistance may be, whether it's something that's actually you will love to do, use that as a prize at the end of the day, and embrace resistance because
It's a,
you never know.
it's very, I thought, and I'm thinking along the same lines as you, right? Resistance in the weight room, resistance in anything. An airplane stays in flight because of the resistance that's being, pushed upon it from underneath. And many times out of that resistance, right, comes something of value. And that's what happened with the invention that you and your girl were doing, right? Obviously. Um, we'll take a quick dive into, if you want, into conspiracy. I know you got a busy day. It's Sunday, your day of rest. I don't want to hold you up forever. And my wife's cooking dinner right now as well, so I don't want to keep her as well. But regarding the elites, if you will, I definitely think, since our last conversation, that's kind of like a rabbit hole I could really go down and spend a lot of energy and frequency in my own mind. For instance, this open AI, right, with this GTP, is it called? I think this new platform that's coming out with the robotics and all this kind of stuff. Well, number one, what are your thoughts on that?
Look, it's so crazy, and I mean, I'm not a mathematical physicist or anything like that, but just as an armchair uh, like just person who's watching it all transpire, my theory is that the world's about to change far more than we've ever dreamed of in the next 5 years. Like I think that it's coming in so quickly. Um, and it reminded me of there was a great conversation between Sam Harris and David Deutsch. Sam Harris is like one of the world's leading intellectuals, and David Deutsch is one of the top quantum physicists from England, originally German, I think, or what have you. But their conversation was like, because what's going to happen is this GPT or whatever it's called is going to be clearly put in a humanoid robot. Like if you take Boston Dynamics and then this GPT thing, I can't remember the three letters, but you put those two together and like you could do it now. So the problem is you're now going to have a humanoid robot that we can't discern is if it's conscious or not. Or we're probably, it still has issues that AI where you kind of go, no, that's completely wrong. But it's more often than not, it's getting it right. So, and the conversation that these two had was like, if there is a robot that we can't determine is conscious or not, should we fear this thing? And Sam Harris was like, yeah, we should. This thing could take over. And David Deutsch is like, well, that's racist. And I thought to myself, hang on a second, like, whoa, 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 what the hell? And then I think about it, and he's right. He's right. If we're xenophobic
Yeah.
to a computer consciousness that we can't embrace as an equal, it's a form of racism, and that is hard to compute in many ways. But the longer I thought about it, the more I was like, well, that's fair enough. And here's the other thing: they're superior to us because they're way smarter. They're able to learn at a rate that we can't comprehend. Like a computer of that capability is going to be self-learning at a rate that's far beyond our ability. It has the whole internet at its fingertips. So it's going to look at us in
Right.
the same way we look at
Yes.
chicken. It's going to look at us like that. And so how all of this is going to can transpire, oh, I have no clue. But it's going to be fascinating, and I just hope it's friendly to us, and that somehow we survive what's coming. It's going to be crazy, man. I have no idea what will happen.
Yeah. Well, you start to think about that, and that's why, for me, it becomes so overwhelming that whole idea. So what I do is, and my bride and I, is we just try to keep everything in control that we can control, and just stay in our little bubble and do the best we can, one step in front of the other, because it can really. But it is going to be interesting to see, and it's happening. It's accelerating. I think this. Whatever it is that's happening regarding AI, it's compounding like interest. It's coming and coming faster at that. I want to just get into the back to the real world for a minute. Not,
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about is the real world, right? But in terms of practical application, and that is your business model. Where did the name Thrila come from? First, give us a little brief background on how you came from where you were to developing Unit, and then like transition into the tale of the genesis and the root whereby you invented Thriller. Give us that story, please.
Yeah. So I originally had I had about 3 or 4 different names way back in the day, and I had my like the unit star symbol is a spark plug exploding fuel. I had that symbol, and I hadn't had the name. And then I woke up one morning with Unit, and I'd already around the same time I was thinking about Thriller because I liked Michael Jackson's Thriller album, and as a word, it's such a slick word. Like it's actually stronger as a word than the word unit, but it was just too synonymous with Michael Jackson. And then obviously he'd been put through the courts for his supposed the stuff he got up to in his personal life, which it's up to you whether you believe it or not. But that was a problem for me. I was like, no, I can't be. It's just too synonymous with Michael Jackson. And then when I thought of Unit, I was like, that's absolutely the brand name. And I looked up the meaning, and I was like, it's a distinct entity within. I was like, this is the perfect brand name to run with. And then now you say to a kid Michael Jackson, and they look at you like, who's that? Which is so weird to think of, right? Because we all grew up with that music. And so starting a new brand.
I know.
Yeah, an incredible person. He made amazing things happen with music. Now I'm like, okay, well, that issue of it sort of conveying a Michael Jackson thing is not really relevant anymore because my audience is now, 12 to 18. I was like, I'll do a new brand, and then this name was always in the background for me, and I've spelt it Thrila, as you'll probably see on my T-shirt. This new brand is a lot like what Unit was in what it is and what it does. But we're a cleaner brand. We're more, I suppose, the wisdom I've accumulated over the years is being injected through Thriller. And we're growing significantly faster than what Unit did. I think when I look at the numbers recently, we're sort of about 6 times faster growth than Unit. And Unit took over Australia in 5 years. We were the most popular brand about 5 years into the adventure, and it was, we couldn't believe how quickly. And when I say we, it's me, my younger brother and I, Ian, and so where Thriller goes, we're 2 years in now with Thriller, and I think another 3 years from now we'll be the biggest action sports brand in Australia.
And you say your demographic essentially is 15 to 18-year-olds. It's BMX, it's motocross, it's extreme sports, it's e-bikes and things like that. With beach and surf wear, it's clothing, it's hat, it's apparel. You sponsor athletes. I mean, you have a stable of guys. How does that work? Do people clamor to be on your team?
Yes. Well, when you're a new brand, it's hard to kind of grasp the attention from the pro riders. Because I've had the background in Unit, a lot of the pro guys are now approaching us, and they can see it's so rewarding to actually see riders from their point of view notice the ascension of your creation. So Thriller's now starting to get noticed. We're getting our wholesale program really expanding, and so more and more now top riders are approaching myself to ride for Thriller, and that's a necessary element to build a brand. You have to have, people of great quality representing it. So, I just got off the phone yesterday with Pat Bowden, who's one of the best freestyle motocross riders in the world. And we're all currently organising an enormous party that we're going to have here on the Gold Coast in the next 4 to 5 weeks. And that will be pontoons, helicopters, massive, huge boats, wakeboard boats, jet skis, DJs. We're going to have a Miss Thriller competition. It's going to be like the Gold Coast, Miami Vice. We're having a dress code, so you have to wear Miami Vice stuff, and you'll appreciate that being a Floridian.
Yeah.
So big parties like this are part of building a brand, and so this is all underway now. You guys, I don't know did you hear about the helicopter crash that happened here about 2 weeks ago? Actually, a week ago.
Only through you, because you said you had to postpone this big event. Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, it was a
Two of them
tragedy.
came
So
together.
yeah. So I was riding my bike, and I remember looking up to my left and thinking, "Wow, that's a medical helicopter." And then I'm like, "There's a police helicopter, and then there's a life-saving helicopter all together." And I thought, "Okay, well, clearly something is not right." And then there's water police everywhere, and I had my headphones on my bike, and I'm like, well, "What's going on?" I put on my Facebook. Does anyone know what's happening? There's clearly roads are being blocked. I thought this is a terrorist situation. And then, yeah, someone posted a link to Channel 9, which had shown that the two SeaWorld helicopters had unfortunately collided here, which is just literally 2 kilometers from where I live across the water. And the really sad part is it was just such an unfortunate scenario. So they just bought these new Eurocopters, and the Eurocopter's cockpit has the A-frame, or the A-pillars they call them, these two bars that come down sort of at 45-degree angles from the pilot's view. And these two helicopters were bearing on the same angle like this, right? So if you're in a helicopter and the other person's in a helicopter, and both your A pillars are camouflaged in the other chopper, inevitably you're going to collide.
It's like a blind
And
spot.
so
Yeah.
the theory is effectively, yeah, your blind spots. Now, ordinarily with aircraft, there's like a altitude readings or an altitude area where you're allowed to operate under, and so that usually is 500 feet apart, which reduces collisions. So something's happened where they've been very busy with the Christmas period, and the altitude differentials not being instigated, or somehow has not happened. And so, you can be on this trajectory, but if you're at 200 feet below me, we're going to be fine. But they literally collided. And the footage, there's someone, I don't know if you guys have seen the footage, it's on YouTube, of someone on the helicopter that survived. And you can see a passenger tapping the pilot to say, "There's a freaking helicopter there." And then within a few seconds, the whole windscreen just comes in. All the glass is shattered through the entire occupants on
It's
the
just
on the
awful.
chopper
Oh,
on the
goodness.
copter. Yeah, it's horrific. And yeah, the other helicopter lost its main rotor, and then I think it lost its rear rotor as well. It landed upside down, only 5 meters from the ocean, which it would have been. All of them would have lived if it had landed 5 meters further south. It
Right.
would have landed in the water, not a sandbar. So yeah, terrible tragedy, and it never happens. Like, we've never seen this here. And so with our party, we did the right thing and postponed it, because that was only going to happen a few weeks from now, and we were going to have helicopters and everything. So um, yeah, so that was a yeah, just tragic event that happened here recently. And but yeah, just getting back to yeah, athletes and sort of activations is what we could term them. To build a brand, you really want to have the lifestyle, right? So we did a similar party 10 years ago where we had like a mini bike launch into the ocean and do some flips, and yeah, both helicopters and girls and
Very
loud
cool.
music. And it put us on the map. So effectively, this is just redoing that all over again, but on a
Gotcha.
much
Gotcha.
scale. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, man. Congratulations on the success of the new venture, the new name. You're just you're just like a bundle of energy, dude. Like I said at the outset, it's amazing. I love that your passion. I love your insightfulness. I love the fact that you don't just fall for anything. You don't let the news or the media or a tweet or a post let it pull the wool over your eyes. You question everything, and I love that inquisitive spirit about you, my brother.
Well, thank you. And yeah, it's a good way to be. Question everything is what I would keep saying to people out there. And yeah, I think more and more now our mainstream news is becoming less and less relevant, and I think we're all waking up to that. So
Yeah, I
it's good to
agree.
keep spreading the news.
Well, we're going to spread the good news of the gospel of Paul Everest out to the airwaves on YouTube. So if I can get this thing edited down, it's my first foray, my second foray. The first time I had a failure, a crash and burn, for lack of a better word, and I had to pull the audio out and get it up to the platforms. But this time, because you were so gracious and you ground it out in terms of getting all of the bugs worked out with the audio and the video, I think that we're going to have a decent episode to share with the folks. And I appreciate you so much, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Always enjoy talking to you, mate, and look forward to doing it again.
We will do it again. And for Paul Everest at Thrila, my name is Bobby Stein, the host of the Motivated Mindset Podcast. We appreciate your eyeballs. We appreciate your ears. And until next time, folks, please take good care. And thanks for listening. Appreciate it, Paul.
Anytime.